So students, welcome back. So we were doing the chapter March by Khushwant Singh, and in our previous session, as we already gone through a brief introduction about this chapter as well as the author of this chapter, March, and the subject matter. So let's now go to the detailed study about what this chapter says about. So the first line begins as, March is an unpredictable month. One day can be as cold as any in winter, the next as warm as any in spring. So here in India, basically we cannot predict the month March. We cannot say how the weather condition will be in this month. We cannot predict the possibility of rain or maybe the possibility of being very sunny. We cannot predict all these things. It's quite strange. It may be as dry as a desert one morning and by sundown as wet as a monsoon night. As I told you earlier, fresh falls of snow in the mountains of Kashmir or Himachal bring chilly winds to the capital. Capital means to Delhi. Strong winds push clouds up to freezing heights, convert raindrops into ice, toss islets up over and over again till they are too heavy to bear and let them descend on the earth as hail. So here the author tried to give us a brief description about how hail occurs or what is the phenomena of this occurrence of hail. Take a close look at a hailstone and you will notice that it is of a milky white color and consists of layers of ice like skins on an onion. So the forming of hail stone is very unique. So the author says if you are going to examine it, if you are going to give a close look at a hailstone, you will notice that the stone forms with layers of ice like skins on an onion. So when we cut an onion, what we usually get, it is from the onion especially that it is coming up with layers, many layers. So in the same way, a hailstone is somewhat like that. The forming of hailstone is somewhat like that. I used to wonder why hailstorms did not occur in winter months when it is cold, but in spring or early summers when it is warm. Now I know it takes strong winds to make hail. So this is the thing that Khushwant Singh in his childhood, he wonders why hailstorms never occurs in winter, and it cannot occur in winter. Later he comes to know as hailstorms need strong winds to form. So I have often put away my woolen by the middle of the month and taken out my summer clothes, only to put back the cottons and once again get out cardigans and warm socks. It's because we cannot predict, as we already discussed about it, the month. So we cannot predict whether it will be very cold or it will be very warm or it will be very hot about the weather. So we cannot predict anything. So it often happens that thinking that the winter already ended, so we try to pack up our warm clothes, our woolen clothes, and we take out our summer wears, our cotton wears. But in this month, everything got changed. Sometimes again we need to change our cotton cloths, we need to take back our woolen cloths, our warm cloths, as the weather suddenly changes and it get cold enough, so we need to do the thing. So here he said that what they say about May in England. So in England, the same thing happened here in March. The thing which we come across, the changes of the weather, the unpredictable consequences of the weather which we face in the month of March. The people of England, they face this kind of thing there in the month of May. So can be said of March in India, never cast a cloud till March be out. So here we can say, never cast a cloud till March be out, but actually it should be it as it is, never cast a cloud till May be out. But here, according to our weather, we are keeping the author. He is putting the word, the month March here. The sun also continues to behave erratically. It comes up earlier by more minutes than it goes down in evening. So in this particular month, the appearance of the sun, the sunrise, it is not in a regular time. It never follows, it never comes in a specific regular time. It keep on changing. Humans are not only fools to be humans are not the only ones to be fooled by the weather. Insects, said to be endowed with an extra sense of forecasting the weather, suffer heavy loss. So in this month, not only we humans, we face problem, but the insects who are blessed with some extra sense which they can feel the changes in the weather, even the insects, they too get confused, and because of that confusion they had to face utter problems. Mosquitoes, flies and moths, which come out of hiding to pester humans, suddenly find the weather turn inclement and are frozen to death. In my diary, I record the first time I hear crickets chirp. Cricket is kind of an insect. This is usually in the second week of March, probably somewhat earlier in my apartment than in other homes, as I have log fire burning every winter night. So he was in the habit of enjoying fire there in the winters. A cricket chirp can be a reliable substitute for a thermometer. So now he is going to give us one experiment. So here, instead of using thermometer for checking the temperature, Khushwant Singh is trying to give us a more effective way to measure the temperature, and that is with the help of one insect, that is the cricket. If you do not believe me, try the following experiment. Count the number of chirps per minute, divide the total by 4 and add 40. The total will give you temperature of the room in Fahrenheit. So if you are interested, if you are willing to do, then try to go for it, and I'm very sure that you will get the positive result of what Khushwant Singh is trying to state here. The vagaries of the weather make Holi, the festival of colors, a chancy affair. It usually falls sometime between the latter part of February and the end of March. Some years, only the young are out with their long tube syringes, buckets of colored water, and red powder to fight mock battles, yelling, Holi hai, Holi hai. Other years, it is warm enough for the middle-aged and the old to risk being doused. So, in this month itself, one of the most colorful festival of India comes, that is the Holi. So, every age group, people of every age group, they enjoy this festival with very much fun. Here, as we all know, that from our elders to the kids, we all enjoy this festival with colors. We play with colors, and we do have long tube syringes and buckets, which we call pitchkari, and we mixed the color powder in water and we used to spray it to others. So just it's a kind of a fun. So earlier it happens that even elders take part, but nowadays what happened due to sudden changes of the nature as well as our people, we caused a lot of problem to the climate, to the planet. So cause of that, some of the consequences we people are facing nowadays, where middle-aged or old people can hardly be seen enjoying nowadays in this festival because of their continuous sickness or lack of uh, their physical ability. So all these are happening because of pollution on all these things. So that is one another part. So by mid-March, the mulberry tree, Satut in Hindi, Morus alba in Latin, for the white-fruited variety, has both flowers and leaves. For a few days, its caterpillar-like fruits are free to all for picking. Bauhinias are still in flower, though now with leaves around them. Mango trees are covered with a powdery cluster of blossoms. So here in this month, we can see the difference, the changes in plants and trees too. We can see the fruit that mulberry tree bears. Again, we can see the mango trees which start to bud. So these are the changes which we see in plants and trees in this month itself. In March, both birth and death are much in evidence. On the one hand, you can see the grapevine and Madhumalti quisqualis, meaning who, what, indica, a name given to it by a Dutch botanist because of its eccentric manner of growth, and new leaves every day. On the other, neem, mahuas, jamun, peepal, and banyans are shedding their foliage. Foliage means leaves. So here in this month, we can see both the phase of birth and death together in this particular month. For we will see some of the trees and plants, they shed their leaves, and in some plants and trees we are seeing the new sprouts. So this particular month reveals, it can show us the exact the actual picture of birth and death. Of the dying and the reborn peoples, and banyans have the most delicate of new leaves, pale pink, silky, soft, and beautifully shaped. If you want an offering from nature as your bookmark, you cannot do better than press their leaves in your album. So if you are, suppose you are in a habit of collecting, if you are having you are following, maintaining one scrapbook or your album to keep bookmarks about the nature, from the nature, whatever you get, then a people leaf would be a perfect thing that you will want to use in your albums. Most birds starts making their nest in March. Vultures and kites, which started off earlier, are busy making nests. For some years, I have watched a couple of white-backed vulture. I presume they are the same every year. Choose the same cleft in the branches of ailanthus overlooking the golf club swimming pool. So here we can see, as what Khuswant Singh he narrated here, that apart from this phenomena of birth and death, you will see different kind of birds making their nest, such as vultures and kites. They are very early, they are very quick, they are very early in busy in making their nest. And Kushwant Singh, he continuously for a period of years, for a couple of years, he keep on spotting out that a couple of white-backed vulture, they continuously kept on making their nest, building up their nest in the same spot, where in the branches of the ailanthus overlooking the golf club swimming pool. So that in that particular spot, he keep on spotting the white-backed vulture for a couple of years, building up their nest. This tree is common in Delhi. Its Latin name is Ailanthus, that means tree of heaven, excelsa, very tall. It's summed up by its Hindi name, Mahavriksh, the great tree. There are quite a few specimens in the golf club and along many roads. In flowers, which came out late in February, are hardly visible, and its fruits, which dropped by June, cannot be eaten. However, its soft wood is used for making packing cases and matchstick. So the packing cases and matchsticks which we often use, which we see in our daily life, so these things are made of this tree, Ailanthus excelsa. Ailanthus means in Latin it's tree of heaven, and excelsa means very tall. That means very tall tree of heaven, and in Hindi we call it Mahavriksh. So its flowers, which came out late in February, we can spot out, we can see the flowers of this tree Mahavriksh in February, and by June it drops its fruits, which we cannot eat. Some vultures seem to have a sense of history and like to rear their young in ancient buildings. So here Kushwant Singh, he gave a light note. In a light note, he's trying to make it say like, we know that there is no any kind of sense of saying like the vultures are a bit interested in history or something, but maybe the vultures, they feel it very cozy and comfortable there to build up their nest in ancient buildings. A pair of neophrons, has 4 years occupied the same niche in the western wall of Baragumbar in Lodi Garden. An Englishman make a fetish about hearing the first cuckoo in spring. I record the first time I hear the quail's full-throated cry rather than the half-hearted gurgles that one hears during winter months. So here you will see, we come to know that there are two kind of sounds which is created by a quail. When the sound are very different, first the sound it comes in its season in spring, the crying of the quail, it comes in its full way, and in the winters we merely get to hear the half-hearted gurgles. That means kind of irregular bubbling sounds. So this month March, we get various kind of, we know about the weather, we come to know about the mosquitoes or flies or moths, different kind of insects. We come to know about the festival here in India. We come to know about the trees, the flowers. We come to know about the nest building process of different kind of birds as well as their cries. So we all get this here in this month itself. So this month March is very much unique. We got to see enormous factors of nature, changing factors or strange factors here in this month itself.